No, I'm short. So thank you for coming out. My name is Jennifer Antoff. I'm the chair of the Libertarian Party of Idaho. Many of you probably don't recognize me or know me. That's because I am new to the party. I joined in August of last year as the chair. Before that, I was one of those people who moved here from California. And I should probably be ashamed to not tell you that, but I'd rather throw that out right away. Mostly because I believe that as chair, my job is not to speak for the party. My job is not to speak for the state. My job is to do the work for you guys to do the work so that you can speak for the state and the communities you represent. And so that's what a lot of today is about. It's about building that stage for you to feel comfortable in your community, to connect with other libertarians, and to help normalize liberty in your community. Right now, the biggest complaint we're hearing with everything going on from Australia to COVID to Afghanistan, there's all of these infringements on our rights, and it's a little scary and intimidating. A lot of us are feeling alone, especially since we can't get out and do our coffee dates and meet with other people, like-minded individuals. We're just seeing the nonsense on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and the news that's telling us the world's going to rise. And so what's important is that we do get together and you realize you're not alone, that we're in a great community, we're in a great state, that liberty is very much alive and well in Idaho. And you need to connect and build that community a lot stronger. So what I need is people like you to show up and then take those messages back to your community. I need you to feel comfortable with saying, yeah, I'm a libertarian. Yeah, I support these measures or I'm against these measures. Here's what I believe and here's why. And most importantly, what you're doing is you're giving your neighbors and your coworkers and your family members permission to embrace liberty. So I built this event out today to help introduce you to a lot of these issues, give you the talking points, make you realize there are people out there with the same message, the same ideas, and also to encourage you to speak up more. Hopefully some of you will decide to run for office. There's no greater time than today to put your feet in that water, get out there, put your name on a piece of paper and say, yeah, I'll represent my community. It's scary for a lot of people, it's kind of intimidating, but the more you get involved in politics and the more you meet your senators and your council members and your mayors, you start to realize they're everyday people. A lot of them fumbled into those positions themselves. They don't know everything, and they were just encouraged by their community to put their name out there. And you start to realize you probably know a lot better than they do because you're the ones who are actually living these issues. You're the ones who are looking at them from a less nuanced, personal, why is this important to me? But libertarians are notorious for looking at things of how do they affect the whole and how do they play out over the future. So with everything going on, we're realizing that history is already repeating itself. And it's repeating itself in a way that our children will live to regret what we're doing. We saw this especially on 9/11 20 years ago. And well, 9/11 means a lot of things to a lot of people, especially because every single community in America felt the loss of that day because they knew somebody. But it's not just about the names that we lost. We also don't want to forget the freedoms that we lost. And it was very similar today because people were scared. And it was very easy for them to sign off on things. We're also looking at a reflection of Afghanistan and the outcome of 9/11 as we watch that kind of come to a full circle. And we're gearing up to go right back into more wars and more issues with other countries. A lot of us in this room are saying, wait, we've seen this movie. We know how it ends. And that's why it's really important to get out there and remind everybody we don't need to learn this lesson again. So with that said, like I said, I have a lot of great speakers lined up. I do want to kick it off with a great gentleman, David Levitt. And he's got a very, very personal and direct look at why this matters today. And so I would like to welcome David to the stage.
Thank you for inviting me here today and giving me a voice. I want to start out by telling each of you that this is a new chapter of my life. I've never done anything like this before, and I'm terrified. I'm terrified to speak in front of all of you. I'm terrified to speak my truth because I don't know what tomorrow will bring or what the consequences will be for my actions. I've lacked the moral courage to tell my truth, and it's been long overdue. The recent withdrawal from Afghanistan has left me overwhelmed with emotions. I find myself continually thinking about the men and women I served alongside and the sacrifices we have all made. I think about my friends who have been killed. I have a certificate of accommodation which hangs on my office wall that reminds me every day. It was given to me for volunteering, for being a pallbearer for a memorial ceremony for two of my friends. Both of whom died in Afghanistan. They actually died September 8th, 2006. I think about my friend who committed suicide shortly after returning home. He left behind a wife, two small children, who I know love and miss him every day. I think about my friends who are severely injured, disfigured, and mentally slow. I try to talk to them at least once a week, and I can hear the frustration, anger, pain, and suffering in their voices. I even think about the Afghan people. I think about their pain and their suffering and everything that they've been through. I'm left wondering, was it all in vain? Guilt. Guilt is a moral injury I live with every day. Guilt is the feeling I have knowing what I know and doing nothing about it. Guilt has been my closest companion on some of my darkest days, and it has brought me close to taking my own life. I'm here today because I want to give a voice to the voiceless. I want to inspire others to have the moral courage to tell their stories, to tell their truths. I want those who have made sacrifices and their friends and families, because they've made sacrifices too. I want them to know it was not done in vain. I want accountability and justice. But the only way to obtain accountability and justice is to be honest by telling the truth no matter the consequences. I wrote, our foreign lies and policies have become our domestic lies and policies, because I felt it's time to share my truth with the world and each and every one of you here. The American people have a right to know what really happened in Afghanistan and why it was such an epic failure. The American people have a right to know about the massive corruption that plagued the Afghan government and how the administrative state and the bureaucracies within our own government enabled that corruption. The American people have a right to know about the billions of dollars wasted on Afghanistan under the pretenses of nation building and humanitarian aid. But I feel it was all an excuse for the talking heads of the administrative state and bureaucracies of our federal government to continue the endless war while claiming progress. We must demand accountability, transparency, and honesty from ourselves and our government. We have become a nation divided that has been fueled by lies and propaganda. For us to move forward and begin healing as a nation and as a society, we must be honest with ourselves and with those whom we interact with. Liberty is based on trust. Trust is based on truth. And truth is based on honesty. I hope everyone here today will take this message to heart. And I encourage each of you to share it. The next time you meet a veteran, I don't want you to thank that veteran for their service. But instead, I want you to ask that veteran to tell you their story, their truth. It'll be hard for the veteran to tell you because most do not talk about the bad. But when we need to be honest, we need to be honest about the good and the bad. Then, I want you to listen. Because they have a lot to say. Thank you again for having me here today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me a voice. If you'd like to learn about my truth, please visit FBLibertyAlliance.org. And if it touches you, please share it. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And thank you to his sister. Like I say, there's nothing more important, I think, right now, especially in situations like this, to have community and family. And that's the first step that we need to start building that honesty and that truth. There's also not enough that we're doing to support people in that situation, helping them heal, helping them get support they need. And one of the ways we can do that is by helping them get the medication they need. A lot of our vets are not getting the services because of the laws here in Idaho. That's one of the reasons I'm personally invested in legalizing medical marijuana in Idaho. But to speak more about that, I'd like to invite Jackie